Hey everybody, Mr. Bubbett here, and we are picking up with PSB 11, the next chapter. And we left off with Heckle and Jekyll, which is talking about Vanetta and Fern going back and forth in their back and forth sing-song type talking. And we're picking up with the chapter titled My Darling Daughters, which I believe is chapter 6. We raced to the mailbox, although it wasn't much of a contest. I came in first, long-legged as I am, and Vanetta second. She kangaroo hopped and waved a fist above her head like she had won a prize fight. Vanetta and I waited for Fern, who held a postcard. I'd put it in her hand for that reason. We couldn't do a thing without that postcard. All this to soothe Fern's wounded feelings from always coming in dead last. She panted hard when she reached us. "Let me put it in," Vanetta said. "No," Fern said between gulps of air. "I'm the mail carrier, so I get to put it in the mailbox." "But I beat you to the mailbox." I swiped the postcard clean from Fern's hand and gave it to Vanetta. Fern balled her fist and socked me, and I said, "Ow," just to say ow. Vanetta dropped the postcard into the mailbox, then hopped and danced until Fern yelled, "Quit it!" I'm usually good at staying one step ahead of a major squabble, but my sisters seem to have gotten better at keeping things stirred up between them. We started back to our house in time to see Pa shuffling down the steps. And Papa's no shuffler. Vanetta and Fern ran to him like nipping puppies. I lagged behind. "Where you going, Pa?" "Yeah, Papa, where?" Pa gave both a pat on the head and said, "Out." "Out where?" Fern asked. Only Fern could get away with tugging on Pa like that. Although I also wanted to know. We had been gone from him for so long. Why was he leaving us? This was the part where Pa was supposed to scold Fern for getting into grown folks' business. Instead, he let out a sigh and said, "Sit down, girls. Sit here on the stoop." We sat, each of us folding our hands in our laps, eager for whatever he was going to tell us. It was a treat to see our father on a weekday with the sun still shining. Even though we all lived under the same roof, we treasured every minute we spent with Papa. "My darling daughters," he began, as if he were running for president. But that was all he said. I was used to my father's quiet ways. He was as quiet as Vanetta, and he was as quiet as Vanetta was chatty. When he needed to say something, he'd pour it out as warm as tap water. Sometimes spoken stories when I sat with him late in the night as he ate his supper. I loved my times with Papa more than I loved the stories he told. Truth be told, Uncle Darnell was the real storyteller. Only a few seconds had passed, but waiting for him to speak was hard on me. There was something about this new Papa, something I couldn't figure out, this father who, out of nowhere, whistled a tune other than Old Man River. I could smell his shaving cream and whatever else he wore, woodsy, like he had put on more of it on. His voice crackled. But before he could pour out any words, Big Ma, who had been fanning herself before the open window, called out, "Your pa is keeping company with a woman in Brownsville." Pa closed his eyes. Ma nothing," she said. Fern looked to me, and I said, "Pa has a lady friend." As hard and odd as it is to say those words. Vanetta had no trouble with the whole idea. "Pa's got a girlfriend." Fern sang along. "Pa's got a girlfriend." "Is that why you were whistling the Temptations?" I asked. "And wearing perfume?" Fern asked. "That's men's cologne," Pa corrected her right away. "I'll bet she wears perfume," Vanetta sang. "And lipstick," Fern sang with her. Then the two of them made kissy smacks. All right, Pa said. "That's enough of that." Pa realized I hadn't spoken up. He beamed at me, waiting. I looked at the ground. Her name is Marva Hendricks, and I'd like you all to meet her. When I glanced up, I saw dimples. My father had dimples like Uncle Darnell's. I'd never noticed them before. I looked back down. Fern said right away, "Marva rhymes with larva." Then Vanetta couldn't let it be and added, "And George Washington Carver." And while they argued if Carver rhymed with larva, I saw pictures of my Temptations whistling, dimpled, smiling father sitting in the RKO movie theater munching on popcorn with his arm around Miss Marva Hendricks' shoulders. This wasn't the kind of picture you're supposed to have of your father while your sisters made kissy smacks. My papa was 32, acting like a teenager. The hippies were right. You can't trust anyone over 30. Big Ma's dinner should have tasted like the meal of a lifetime. But how could it when there were 2 empty places at dinner? Pa was out keeping company with Miss Marva Hendricks from Brownsville, and Uncle Darnell was carrying a rifle in the jungles of Vietnam. My sisters didn't have any problem lifting their forks. They ate and entertained Big Ma and told more than we'd agreed on about our time with Cecil. Thank goodness Big Ma was in a talking mood instead of a whipping mood. "Nothing but a pot of boiling trouble," Big Ma said. "I told him not to send you. I told him." Only when she started in on Cecil did my sisters feel bad for telling all that they told. My son, Big Ma said. "He can pick 'em, I'll say that." My appetite never did catch up to me, although my sisters' spoons dived happily into their nana pudding. I got up and took a few dishes into the kitchen to wash. My Timex was waterproof, but I laid it on the counter while Vanetta and Fern fought over my untouched dessert. That is the end of My Darling Daughters. So this is a whole new dynamic, right? Girls will come back, and it sounds like Delphine is obviously all the girls have memories of their father being in one role, and it sounds like their father is exploring a new relationship, and I don't know. Delphine seems to have mixed feelings about it. We'll see where it goes. All right, catch you next time. Bye.